Oh, hi there. Um, I've done about 2 minutes worth of research on the Ontario election polls. I thought I'd put my 2 cents in if anyone was caring to know. Anyway, it always seems the party that was in previously is always ceremoniously thrown out, and everybody hates them. And then another party shows up and people develop a hatred for them. That's just the way how things go. It happened with Stephen Harper, and to some people, they dislike Justin Trudeau. Um, I most certainly distrust and dislike Justin Trudeau for various reasons. But that's not what we're talking about here. Um, it appears Doug Ford has won, according to what I've read. And I don't know anything about his politics at all. But does anybody really know? Like, I'm talking about your average, common everydayers. And I mean, you can keep up with what the television tells you, what the internet tells you, what the newspapers say, but you don't really know what they're gonna do. Mostly the propaganda surrounding this is that Doug Ford um, had was able to save taxes for certain for people, but it equated to small potatoes, and he was able to gain a lot of money out of it somehow. There's like meme jokes going around. I don't much care for that. I mean, that's just what politicians do. They always find ways to make money. Kathleen Wynne was no different. Um, it never really went public, as far as I know, of anything of the nature, but that it happens. That's just the way it is. Politicians grab money. They always do. Um, and that's also part of the propaganda apparatus. And I mean, Kathleen Wynne was in for a while, and like sometimes clouds, well, they're actually the best example of when something looks like what it is, that's what it is. Like clouds, they can be benign, friendly looking, and then they usually are. And if they're, kind of dark and menacing looking, then they're, not so nice clouds. And Kathleen Lynn looked exactly like what she was. And in that position of power in today's society, it meant a lot of bad things for your common everyday average Joe. It was great for the LGBTQFKZ movement, but for the guys, it would not have been good. It would have been a very bad regime for us. I mean, it shouldn't be that way. I mean, ideally, we elect candidates that are out for everybody's interest, but the reality is that's just not how it works. So I'm glad she was tossed out. I mean, absolutely deserved it. And the fact that they conceded days before and there's no uproar about it from anybody, that says that the liberals had it coming. They deserved it. And I don't have any pity about that, that's for sure. They most certainly wouldn't for, any other party. So, that's too bad for them, but we don't have to care. As for the NDP and Andrea Hortruff, what a weird name. Anyway, it must be Scottish or something. I have no idea about her politics. I know she took a few jabs at Doug Ford. I hardly even remember what she sounds like. Um, she might have been able to do a good job. Evidently, the people's whose votes count And I mean, the people whose votes count didn't think so, because anyone at the right age can vote, but that doesn't mean that your vote counts, because if it counted, you wouldn't be allowed to do it. That is the truth. And I never believed that voting has much to do with the process. I believe we live in a democratic society, um, based on the fact that there's always different special interest groups that are disliking each other and causing each other problems as far as them instituting their policies and the politics they want to put forward. Therefore, there isn't an authoritarian, uh, total dictatorial regime. There's always contradiction, which is good. Um, yeah, so I mean, I would be, more interested in the topic. It's just, I mean, for one, I don't live in Ontario, and for two, this type of politics is not interesting to me on the television. I mean, Doug Ford winning, I mean, immediately you think of thoughts of Rob Ford, who, unfortunately passed away. Um, I had made videos actually about Rob Ford when there was that scandal about him smoking crack and him being up to escapades and things like that. And I tried defending him, and I said it poorly. I wouldn't even bring it up. I actually deleted those videos, but I know YouTube kept them, so it doesn't make any difference. I mean, I didn't say anything really in them. It's just, whatever. But the thing is, Rob Ford at that point probably knew he was already dying. So, one can be a bit more forgiving of, being a jerk. And I'm sure he was a big jerk, um, especially in that arena where everyone's a jerk to start off with. Um, it's like as I was making a point in those videos that I made before and deleted. It's not that big a deal in the grand scheme of things. Like whatever. And on that note, I also wanted to mention Jack Layton, and it's been 7 years since he passed on. I can't believe that it's been that long. I guess it makes sense because I remember it happening around the Stanley Cup playoffs when Vancouver was playing Boston. Um, and the reason I bring him up is because of Olivia Chow, who was his wife. She was born in Hong Kong, and she said kind of a bitchy thing. Like it was either before or after Rob Ford died. I believe it was afterwards. She said, "Oh, it's the end of the Ford era," and I remember how bitchy that sounded. And I mean, she's from Hong Kong, right? So she has a completely different perspective. Um, and they say meaner things to themselves than that, but as far as broadcasting that for everybody to hear, I thought that was particularly bitchy. And I didn't like I you know Jack Layton, I didn't know much about him. From whatever little my dad would mention, he didn't mind him. But I don't consider people born in Hong Kong as Canadians. It says that in the Wikipedia that Olivia Chow is, oh wait, what's her name again? Is it Olivia Chow? I don't think it is. Just give me a second here. I mean, I don't care, but uh, Yeah, yeah, Olivia Chow, that's right. For some reason, I was thinking it was like a Wu or something like that. Olivia Chow, okay. Yeah, I didn't like her, and she sounded particularly bitchy. I mean, she probably didn't say anything, more bitchy than or, mean-spirited as Rob Ford would have or any of other the politicians, but I did consider what she said to be quite bad. And politicians from Hong Kong have a lot of like very bad opinions about what Canada should be. I mean, you shouldn't judge people like that, but it's the truth. I mean, once people aren't ignorant of how the world really works and they climb the social ladder and they look at things from their perspective, what's in their best interest and all that sort of stuff, it becomes evident that they're gonna have strong convictions that are not good for other people. It's the same with anybody, any creed, any nationality, any race, religion, whatever. It's all the same. Once they develop who they are as a person and try to make the best of their situation, them trying to make the best of their situation will make somebody else's situation. There'll be confrontation. And that most certainly is the case from politicians that are from Hong Kong. Um, I mean, I don't blame them for having their own self-interest, but at the same time, I don't think real Canadians should have to put up with that. Because in the past decade, it has been particularly bad for, you know, um, European settler Canadians. There's been a lot of demonization of us and a whole bunch of other things, and it's all being done by hypocrites. So they're not the kind of people to talk. And, I'm sure she worked very hard at her job, but, I just don't have that much respect for a person, no matter what, if it means compromising what's in my best interest. I mean, the Italians in the movies going on about respect and all this sort of stuff. Shut up about your respect. I don't think you deserve it. And a lot of people who think they deserve it don't. And they may deserve respect from other people, but that doesn't mean they deserve respect from everybody. I mean, Jack Layton married her, did his thing, and like the whole scene was surrounded on that. That was that was his bag, and they may feel inclined to respect her, but other people don't have to have that same inclination. Um, and it doesn't matter what they've done. It matters their approach towards to whatever side of the argument you're on. And that's the thing that people have got to understand that, there are decent, respectable human beings, and you being yourself will contradict them, and all of a sudden they're not decent, respectable human beings towards you. And when that happens, then, you know, it's whoever has more people respecting them or groveling to them or whatever that usually wins the argument. And I'm bringing this up because Olivia Chow is not pissed off. She should. She should be gone from politics. I mean, she's not been talked about or anything like that, and she will be a thorn in Doug Ford's side, and along with many others. And it's just contradictory to the positive nature of Canada and the advancement of Canadian interests. Um, there has to there has to be a line where people don't cross it to rather than help the situation, they cause more problems, more delays, and just overall mess up the program just because they don't like the direction it's going in. And I mean, I guess, I would, um, even call myself a bit of a hypocrite on that kind of discussion, but we were here first, so they're gonna have to put up with it. Yeah, um, yeah, the political scene, it's a big jumbled mess. I mean, it's as much a circus over here as it is in the States and just about every other country. So, I mean, that's something people don't understand, don't want to understand, and that's because of personal bias. And I mean, I'm not going to lie and say I don't have personal bias. A lot of people will lie and act as though they don't have any, especially when they're speaking publicly. And that's because what kind of insults could I think of to hurl at them? I don't play that game. I don't actually enjoy throwing insults at people normally. Um, I mean, I will do it to illustrate a point if I have to, but normally I don't feel inclined to insult people. And I mean, Rob Ford obviously didn't hear what Olivia Chow had to say about the Ford era, but or maybe he did, maybe they had different conversations, but he didn't hear that public speech, I believe. But I was glad then that she was thwarted. I mean, Doug Ford didn't win back then, but I was glad that she was thwarted. Um, because I suspect she's a bitch. Um, yeah, well, I know that's an unpopular opinion for people who are a little higher up on the understanding of the world and they look at their situations and what's best for them is not best for me and people like myself. So that is to be considered. And, it's really a difficult situation. I mean, I don't blame people from Hong Kong for, approaching politics, especially in the Western world, differently and counterproductive towards actual Canadians' interest because they've got to look out for themselves. That's not really something you can blame someone for, but you can thwart them, and that is what has to be done. And it appears that is what is going to be done because Doug Ford um, is the new leader of Ontario. And I support that. Don't know anything about his politics. Yes, he's going to get up to things, mostly in regards to money, I suspect. But that's okay. That's just what politicians do. Um, well, what else is there to say really about someone who, spent a minute researching this stuff? I actually had to look up the NDP leader's name. I completely forgot. I've almost forgotten what it is again. Andrea Horwath. I don't know. I guess she just didn't get it done. Um, and that would have not been so bad as far as public image goes because ooh, Kathleen Wynne, like even even Medusa uh, would be repulsed at that sight. Um, yeah, I'm just kind of rambling on here. I'm just trying to think of something else I can say, just to get this show on the road. Um, I am surprised that Doug Ford won, to be honest with you. From just the ripple effect of hearing about the elections over here in BC, and not really paying attention. I got my own things going on, obviously, in my own life, so I don't invest that much time to learn about that sort of stuff. And as I said before, it's kind of boring when you just get the normal propaganda. You feel like a bit of a schmuck, actually. Anyway, so best of luck to Doug Ford. I hope Olivia Chow fucks off and is not a problem. I suspect she will be. Um, and she probably has a bitchy mouth. So, other people liked her, but that doesn't mean that I have to like her, even if she was a decent human being overall. In the political world, uh, nobody's a decent human being to every single person. And Justin Trudeau pretending that he is makes him, a porcelain-faced liar. It just does. I mean, just accept reality for what it is. Anyway, so best of luck to Doug Ford. I hope his party is able to enact policies that are successful and beneficial for the province of Ontario. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you guys later.